I'm here at the magnificent Wales Millennium Centre to take to the stage for an intimate interview with a very special guest. Enthralling audiences for over 4 decades, she's Dame Kiri Te Kanawa. Kiri was born in New Zealand with Maori heritage and adopted as a baby. Her parents encouraged her unmistakably vibrant voice and sent her at 12 to Auckland for voice training from a formidable nun. A meteoric rise saw her winning every singing prize in the South Pacific, and by the age of 20, recording the first of many gold discs. A world of opportunity beckoned, and the following year she left home for London. Her debut in The Marriage of Figaro at the Royal Opera House in 1971 made her an overnight star. And a glittering career was launched, performing around the world with the greatest singers. She bowed out as a leading lady in 2010, but her life in song continues as a mentor, teacher and patron of the Cardiff Singer of the World competition. Well, we're here to talk about a lifetime of singing. When you were smaller, did you think you were born to sing, or did no such thought ever come into your mind?
No, none of that. No.
So what was the first song you can remember singing?
Daisy, Daisy. Well, it was simple. It was easy. So.
Was there lots of music around the house?
Yeah, because in New Zealand we didn't have television then. But what we did have was everyone would sing around the piano.
When did singing become a little more important and someone notice that...
Well, first of all, my mother heard the voice, of course. She said, you know, you can sing. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, right, as mums can do. And they were terribly proud of their children. And I was starting to take singing lessons from this really pretty tough nun. She was as tough as old boots. But she was wonderful. You know, that's what the sort of person you've got to be in order to inspire or drive or whatever you do to make a kid work.
Of course, along came quite soon a recording. I think we should hear it now.
It's very young, I have to say. It's very young. It's way back. And I don't want to make any criticisms because there are enough people here who can criticize it. But I can tell you, I know the bits that are wrong.
So let us now hear a little bit and not look for the bits that are wrong. It shows when you were young, you were embarking on something, and that something was going to lead to leaving New Zealand. Was it your decision only?
It was a bunch of decisions, of course, as these things are. You know, you get into a certain stage, and my mother said, you know, you are going to sing. I see you sing at these places. And then James Robertson from the London Opera Centre came to visit New Zealand. He was judging a competition. I think I was in it. And he said, whenever you come to my school, London Opera Centre, which is now the National Opera Studio. It still continues after all these years. And so with that, my mother said, right, we're going. And so she did. So that was it. That was it.
So you landed in London in the 60s, the swinging 60s. Did you live in a squat like half the rest of the students?
No. I ended up in Richmond. And then I graduated to Kensington. It's terribly posh. Some darling lady gave me her apartment for a very, very small amount of money right in De Vere Gardens.
When you were living in London, though, was it a student's life?
The first year, all I know is the shopping was wonderful. All I did was shop. I had no money, but all I wanted to do was shop. You know, I feel as though, oh, tomorrow, mañana. And that's how I carried on for, in some ways, too long. It was less than a year. But then I look back and I think, gosh, I was really a bad student all the time. And people, they believed in me and trusted me, which was great. And then they give me something, but I know I'm jumping ahead of your questions, then they give me something like The Marriage of Figaro, and I think, hang on, this is really serious.
But that comes quite early.
Yes.
You're quite right about that sense of all the opportunities. We all thought, it just happens, doesn't it?
We can do that,
yeah,
we can do
just
that.
Like that.
Yes.
I know, it was an extraordinary atmosphere.
It was that unbelievable, we can do anything we want, and people are going to take notice of us, and they sort of did.
You're in an atmosphere where the great divas are coming to Covent Garden, the grand stars. Were they nice?
There was some a little bit dodgy, but well, I remember getting the part, and this person in the canteen, we would sit in the canteen as you do, and sit and talk and gossip and talk and stuff, and this woman said, well, what are you doing then? And I thought, because she was a serious singer and she didn't do major parts, but she did good parts. And I said, we'll be singing the Countess in The Marriage of Figaro. And she said, bloody ridiculous. Who gave you that? I thought, oh, I better not come to the canteen anymore. So I quit the canteen. I thought I better not come here because I'm going to get really depressed. So anyway, I went on and I sang it. And I mean, before the first night was over, John Tooley had rung me up and said, I want to give you a 5-year contract. And I remember someone in the car saying, don't take it. I said, bloody hell, I will take it. I mean, 5 years at Covent Garden at £50 a week. Wouldn't you not take it? And I was singing the Countess for £50 a week.
So let us hear Dove Sono from The Marriage of Figaro.
If you look back at like the 8-9 years before I left New Zealand, I sang the Nuns' Chorus. There's not too much difference, if you know. There's just been finessed. And I was talking to a student the other day. I said, your voice should not change. Whatever you've got, if it's there, it should only improve.
I was wondering whether you experiment with your voice when you're younger.
Experimenting is going too high, too low, whatever. The young kids always want to do something far too big for their repertoire needs. They all want to do the aidas, and they all want to do the big baritone roles, and all these different things they want to do. What they don't actually understand is, in lots of ways, the voice grows with less. doing less in smaller parts. It grows that way.
The words serene and effortless are frequently used to describe your voice. I suppose effortless makes you go, "Ah, what do they know?"
Well, you try. The most important thing is the audience doesn't need to know how difficult it is. Why should they? They've paid their money. They've had a beautiful dinner. They've paid a huge amount of money for the tickets. Why should they know that I've just gone through the worst warm-up and the worst performance, feeling? Sometimes you go on there and think, I don't want to do this tonight. I so don't want to do this. Because you feel that you're not going to give your best. You go out and you're quite fearful of not being able to come up to the expectations, first of all, for yourself, and then next for your audience. You want to really do 1,000,000%.
You're also, at this time, beginning to travel a fair bit.
Yes. I think the first one was, we went to France, which was great. That was something great and bad, because that was the moment when I heard my mother had died. That was the killer. That was the nasty one. So I got on the plane the next day, flew to New Zealand and went to the funeral. And then I went to another town in France again to sing Figaro, and then went on. But those were the sort of the sad bits, because I'd reached the goal she'd wanted, and then she died.
And you've also got to get on stage every night and give the performance. That's when the professional discipline begins to stiffen, doesn't it?
That's when you have to really, you dig into the depths of your soul and the depths of your strength.
You also get your debut across the Atlantic in New York.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Well, once again, my agent, of course, who was a very, very good agent, got me the part of Desdemona in Otello. And I thought, gosh, this is once more a bit of a stretch. So they said, but it's only, you'll be covering. So I thought, I'm safe. I'll just cover it. It'll be fine. Understudy. So that's fine. And then one day, after the dress rehearsal, they called me and they said, we just want to be sure that you know the part and all that sort of thing. So come in and we'd like to rehearse you the next day, which they did all day with most of the cast. Next morning at 11 o'clock, they rang and said, you're on. Just like that.
Ah.
And I thought, oh dear.
All through the 1970s, you're traveling all over the world. But central to all of this is safeguarding the voice. You must worry about it. And all of that air conditioning, changing from climate to climate. What do? Do you sort of sit with scarves around you?
Well, first of all, you find where all the best doctors are. That's the number one first name as soon as you arrive, which is the best ear, nose and throat doctor in the city. That's the start of it. And then you wait. You wait for the infection to hit you after about 5 days. And then you make the call. And he fixes everything. It takes a little time, but he fixes everything. So you are prepared.
You are also covering a huge repertoire, aren't you? Well, is it a matter of retaining it in compartments?
Well, I think what I learned in the early days was because I was doing Mozart, Strauss mainly. And I remember someone saying, stick to what you do best and really perfect it. So I'd go to a new role with a Verdi or Puccini or something like that, and I think, still not perfecting that. When do I ever perfect these things? So I got even to this stage now, I look back and I think, I never really got there where I wanted to be. I never really got to the so-called high level of, I've done it. Never made it.
We're about to